So, what's your I went full psycho mode story? Here's mine. I was 7 or 8 years old, and there was this kid in my class who always annoyed me and tried to make me angry or get me grounded. One day, the teacher left to get something from another class, so she left us completely alone. As soon as she closed the door, the boy started insulting me, and I couldn't resist the urge to beat him. For context, I was probably 10 pounds heavier than him. Did boxing and loved MMA, so I already knew a few basics. As soon as he approached me, I shoved him to the ground and caught him with an amazing triangle leg choke. I just released all my anger on that poor dude as he tried to get some air. I was like a snake that held tighter every time he tried to escape. 5 people had to intervene before I choked him. Still remember his red face and bloody eyes. As he got a gasp of air for the first time in a minute or so, it was glorious. He completely stopped annoying me after that point. I had a known douchebag try and get with my girlfriend when she was drunk at a party. Some friends sent me a video of him trying to make moves, so I texted him and asked him if he was out of his mind. His response, "Oh, you're just jealous." So I told him next time I see him, I'm gonna break his nose. He didn't take me seriously, even though I'd been in tons of altercations, by then being a wrestler for over a decade at that point. The next day was our 11th grade picture day. Just about everyone I ever knew from elementary school to HS was in that room. He walks right up behind me and tries to chat with my best friend. My buddy is ignoring him, knowing the drama that's going on. The asshole says to him, "Why, you being so two-faced?" This absolutely enraged me. I had a lot of pent-up anger at that time in my life. I immediately turned around and blasted him with a left, and his nose exploded with blood. Hit him with a right, then shot in for a double leg, spun around him and suplexed him into his back and started wailing on him. My world-lit teacher tried to step in, and I planted my hand on his chest and shoved him back and went back to hitting the kid till he wiggles out and stands up. My other friend stepped him and said, "Hey," trying to calm me down. I pointed at him and said no. I knew I was already in trouble, so I was gonna finish mopping the floor with this kid. He gives me an understanding nod. I go back in and lay him out and hit him with a few more shots on the ground, then back off. Douchebag stands up with blood running from his nose, and I smiled at him, being extremely pleased with my promised ass whooping. I said, "You're a bitch." He tries to act tough one last time and yells, "I'm not a bitch." He was and looked pathetic. I laughed and turned around and walked straight to the principal's office and sat down. I never managed to break his nose, but he never lived down the ass beating he received literally in front of our entire grade. I did get in trouble, but was only suspended for a few days, being for the most part a well-behaved kid like yourself. Our school's disciplinary was a tough-as-nails Irishman who absolutely loved what I did to him and brought it up whenever we talked. Nobody liked douchebag. He was known for not having boundaries with taken women. Kudos to you for standing up for yourself. There is no better feeling than beating the piss out of someone who deserves it. That is exactly how you handle bullies. Keep training and stay humble. These experiences can really inflate your ego. It's important to reel yourself in before you completely fly off the handle. A lesson I learned later in life. This happened about 15 years ago. My cell phone carrier had a ridiculous system where if you were a new customer buying something, you got to go first no matter where you were in line. If you were an existing customer and had a problem with your equipment or account, you were served last. I went into the store and entered my name into the queue, then waited almost an hour for help. This whole time, people walking in to buy something got waited on immediately. When it was finally my turn, I told them the problem, and the employee said I would have to call a 1-800 number as they didn't service this problem at the store. I went ballistic, screaming at the poor employee about having to wait all that time, and why couldn't they have told me that 45 minutes ago instead of wasting my time. I could have looked up the number myself. I'd been a customer for 20 years. Why put new customers first? The system was stupid. I feel really bad for the people who had to hear my ranting and the employees who had no control over decisions greedy corporations made. Totally embarrassed by my behavior now. When I was younger, I attended a boys' club in Norfolk, VA. My mom had just died, and I was around 8 years old at the time. I was going through some unprocessed anger and emotions from that, and that's where the problem started. I was getting harassed by this kid every day. He would just do small things but would always laugh at me. Things like swatting my ear, tripping me, dumping my backpack, smashing my lunch, etc. I was a much bigger kid but was very timid. Finally, one day when the day was over and all the parents were picking their kids up out front, I snapped. I saw this kid walking up to his mom and I just lost my shit. I ran at him full speed, knocking him down with me on top of him. I swung both hands wildly, pummeling his face and body. Remarkably, I didn't get kicked out. I had to sit down with the head dude who told me the kid's mother was very upset, but he had explained that I lost my mom and she didn't want to press charges or any of that stuff. I don't really remember the details, only that I told him he was an asshole and I think I told him to fuck off or something along those lines. Still didn't get kicked out. This was very out of character for me since I was such a mild-mannered kid, but life had dealt me a shit hand. And I was tired of dealing with it. And that little kid paid the price, but deep down, it was really satisfying to knock that kid down a peg or two right in front of his own mother and everyone else around. No regrets. I was 17 and a friend of mine drove up to my neighborhood and we were hanging out in his car with a girl I had a crush on, along with my younger brother and another girl. My friend was in the front seat with my crush and was being disrespectful, insinuating things about how they should have sex. She didn't like it and said to my brother, "Hit him for me, will you?" He didn't. My friend continued the harassment and she asked the other girl to hit him. She didn't. He kept being a dick and she finally said, "Would you hit him for me?" So I kicked him hard in the back of the head, then wailed on him. I told everyone to get out and go home. I told him I was tired of him treating her like shit and she deserved better. She and I fell in love for about a year, then she broke my heart. Friend and I stayed friends till we moved on. My physics teacher in high school was a jarring woman. She couldn't teach and was always making fun of students. On days she was reading out test results and when she got to me she told me I had a 7. 1/10 a 5. 5/10 is a passing grade, so I was ecstatic. BC, I never did well in her class. After she read everyone's grades, she went back to the front of the class and said in front of my whole class, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake when reading one of your scores. My name, you have 1, 7/10, not a 7, 1/10. My mistake was almost as stupid as you are." I went ballistic and started insulting and screaming for at least 4 minutes, and at the end of it I threw my chair in her direction, gathered my things and left to go to my next class.